Hey there, lovely soul. Welcome back to Noah's Stories. Have you ever met someone who changed your life in the most unexpected way? Today, we dive into a story about courage, patience, and a love worth fighting for. Let's step into a journey that reminds us how true love often grows in the quietest moments. Morning sunlight bathed the city of Chicago, painting golden streaks across the bustling street. Leanna Brooks stepped out of the taxi, lifting her gaze to take in the towering glass structure ahead, the headquarters of West Media, where she would embark on a brand new chapter of her life. After 23 years in the tiny town of Pine Hollow, where the tallest building was a modest 4 stories, the scene before her felt both overwhelming and exhilarating. In her hands, Leanna carried a thick portfolio, the result of years of study and tireless work. The navy blue dress she had carefully chosen hugged her slender frame, her soft brown hair neatly tied back, radiating an air of professionalism, free of hesitation. Yet inside her chest, a flutter of nervous excitement stirred like a rising tide. Leanna had always known she was different from the other girls in Pine Hollow. While her friends dreamed of simple weddings in fields of wildflowers, she spent countless nights under the glow of a desk lamp, reading about distant cities and daring to dream bigger than her small town. Her mother had worried about her boldness, but her father would always say, "Chase your sky, Leanna." Now, standing before the vast doorway into a whole new world, she felt both emotions alive within her. The gentle caution her mother had taught her, and the fierce courage she had inherited from her father. Drawing a deep breath, Leanna pushed open the doors, stepping into a place where her destiny was about to be rewritten forever. Inside the West Media lobby, the air buzzed with energy. Men and women in stylish suits hurried past her, coffee cups in one hand and buzzing phones in the other. Leanna clutched her bag tighter, walking toward the reception desk with a confident smile, despite the flicker of nerves stirring within her. "Miss Leanna Brooks," the receptionist beamed. "Welcome to West Media. Here's your access card. The design department is on the 22nd floor." Leanna thanked her, accepting the glossy card, then turned toward the elevators. At that very moment, an odd hush fell over the crowded lobby, as if an invisible wind had swept through. Instinctively, Leanna looked up. Through the gleaming glass doors, she saw a man entering. Damian West, the legendary founder and CEO of the company, known not just for his brilliance but also for his complicated romantic past. At 34, Damian radiated the kind of magnetism that came from a man well aware of his own influence. His dark suit fit his tall frame perfectly, his jet black hair styled impeccably, but it was his steely gray eyes that truly stole one's breath away. Those eyes, deep, sharp, locked directly onto Leanna's, a flash of invisible electricity. In the few brief seconds they held each other's gaze, she felt something rare. A genuine attention rather than the usual detached curiosity. The elevator chimed, snapping the invisible thread between them. Leanna quickly stepped inside, resisting the urge to glance back. But as the doors began to close, she caught a glimpse of Damian West moving in her direction. Just a fleeting glance, yet her heart skipped a beat. Little did she know, that moment had already altered the trajectory of her life. Throughout her first day at work, Leanna immersed herself in orientation sessions, design workflow presentations, and quick introductions with different team members. She stayed completely focused, eager to absorb as much as possible. Still, she couldn't ignore the occasional glance from the back of the meeting room. When she looked up briefly, she caught a glimpse of Damian West, leaning casually against the glass doorway, his piercing eyes following her every move. He didn't intervene, nor did he exert pressure. He simply watched. Oddly enough, it made Leanna even more cautious. From the whispers she'd heard back in Pine Hollow, and now around the office, Damian West was not the kind of man who noticed an ordinary girl. The women seen at his side were usually dazzling models, celebrated actresses, or powerful business magnates. And she's just a fresh-faced graphic designer with simple brown hair and a sincere rather than seductive smile. Perhaps that was exactly why Damian had noticed her. He had encountered hundreds of breathtakingly beautiful women, those who knew how to catch the eye, how to use perfection to mask emptiness inside. But Liana was different. There was something real, something quietly powerful in her, a light that needed no embellishment. Damien realized it wasn't mere curiosity. There was a strange pull in his chest, a desire to understand this girl, to uncover the stories behind those intelligent, bright eyes, something even he couldn't explain. And for the first time in a very long while, Damien West, a man who controlled everything, realized he was beginning to lose control. The days that followed passed in the fast-paced rhythm of work. Liana gradually adapted to the professional environment, the constant demand for creativity, and the silent pressure from ambitious colleagues. Yet every time Damien West appeared, whether gliding past the hallway or attending a brief meeting, she could feel his presence more keenly than anyone else's. And each time, her heart missed a beat. However, the hazy romance of it all was quickly pulled back to reality by whispered warnings from coworkers. "Don't let that polished exterior fool you," Nadia, a senior designer, whispered while making coffee. "Damien West has broken more than a few hearts around here. He's charming, brilliant, but ruthless. When he gets bored, he walks away without a word." Liana smiled lightly, trying to brush off the unease. "I'm here to work, not to fall into some romantic fantasy." Nadia just shrugged. "I hope you remember that." The warning made sense, and yet, in the quiet moments alone, Liana still remembered the way Damien's eyes looked at her, not like a hunter, but like someone who had glimpsed something truly precious. She didn't know what to believe. Logic reminded her that men like Damien West did not change. But her heart, stubborn and a little naive, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. Standing by the tall office windows, gazing out at the city sparkling with lights, Liana felt like she was standing on the edge of something, dangerous yet irresistibly alluring. Part of her wanted to run. The other part, the braver part, wanted to stay and see what might happen. On a late Friday afternoon, as Liana was busy finalizing design layouts for a new project, a message popped up. "Damien West, tomorrow evening West Media is hosting a charity gala. I'd like you to attend as my guest. It would be a good opportunity for you to learn more about the company culture." Liana's heart thudded. Part of her knew this invitation wasn't purely professional, but her rational mind scrambled for reasons to decline. Yet when she looked up and caught Damien's gaze from across the office, there was no pressure, only patient expectation. Her fingers trembled slightly as she typed back, "Agreed, I'll see you there." The next evening, Liana stood before her mirror, gazing at her reflection in a simple yet elegant teal silk dress. Her hair flowed in soft waves, her lips brushed with a hint of pink. When Damien arrived at her apartment door, dressed immaculately in a black tuxedo, he froze for a heartbeat longer than usual. "You look stunning," he murmured, his voice dropping a note lower. At the gala, heads turned as they entered together. No one was used to seeing Damien with an unfamiliar woman, least of all a new hire from the design department. Liana felt the curious stares, the whispered speculations, but Damien kept her close, polite yet unmistakably protective. He introduced her to major partners, highlighting her talent rather than her looks. He listened attentively when she spoke, his eyes seemingly reserved only for her in a room full of glamorous figures. And when Damien lightly placed his hand against the small of Liana's back, guiding her toward the moonlit terrace, a warm current rushed down her spine. Beneath the glittering sky, Liana could feel it clearly. The thin line between professionalism and personal connection was beginning to blur. After the dazzling whirlwind of the gala night, Damien surprised Liana by inviting her not to another glamorous event, but to a simple, cozy dinner. Not to a lavish restaurant as she might have expected, but to a cozy little bistro tucked away on a quiet street corner where soft golden lights bathed everything in a nostalgic glow. They chose a quiet table tucked away from the bustle, with gentle jazz music humming in the background. Dinner unfolded with surprising ease as the layers of formality slowly peeled away. Damien spoke about his lonely childhood, about growing up under the crushing expectations of a powerful family and how he had learned early to hide his emotions behind a polished mask. Leanna, in turn, shared about Pine Hollow, the small town where she grew up, the endless days spent running across open fields, and her quiet yearning to build a world of her own where every effort would truly matter. From those conversations, a connection grew, not from grand gestures, but from rare, unguarded honesty. They exchanged their favorite books, discussing passages that left both of them quietly moved. They wandered through the park together, needing few words, simply savoring the peace between them. Gradually, Damien realized that these simple evenings with Liana brought him more happiness than any glittering gala ever had. One night, sitting together under a sky strewn with stars, he gently broached the subject. "I'd like us to take this further, something more than just occasional evenings." Leanna smiled softly, a smile tinged with sadness. "Damien, you're a wonderful man, but I'm not ready. Not because of you, but because of me. I need to be certain that I won't lose myself in any relationship." Damien remained silent, honoring her decision, though a sweet ache stirred in his chest. Because with Leanna, he knew everything had to be built on a foundation that was truly solid. After the night Leanna declined Damien's offer to move forward, things between them shifted, but not in the way she had feared. Damien didn't grow distant, nor did he turn cold. Instead, he respected the boundary she had drawn, continuing to show up in simple moments: a morning coffee left at her desk, a book with thoughtful notes tucked into her workspace, a quiet text asking if she got home safely after a late night. No pressure, no expectations. It was this patience that truly shook Leanna's heart. She realized that Damien wasn't just infatuated with an image or a fleeting emotion. He was persistent, quietly, steadily, building trust with her. Then, one early autumn afternoon, as they strolled through the park, Leanna decided to test him and herself. "I want to set a challenge," she said softly. "Tonight I will stay, but we will only lie next to each other. No touching. If you can spend one night beside me without touching, then maybe I can trust myself to be yours." Damien raised an eyebrow slightly, but nodded immediately, without hesitation. "I agree," he said, firm and steady. They lay side by side on the large bed, in a silence broken only by the soft rhythm of their breathing. The space between them was only a few centimeters, yet it felt like an entire ocean waiting to be crossed. Leanna closed her eyes, trying to calm her pounding heart. She wasn't testing Damien out of mistrust, but because of herself, because of the fear of giving her love completely without knowing it would be held with care. The night dragged on slowly. Damien stayed still, focusing on every breath, every fragile inch between them. But near dawn, in an unconscious moment, his hand shifted. Just the slightest brush against Leanna's arm. It was like a cold lightning bolt shooting through her. Leanna opened her eyes, her body stiffening instantly. Damien woke too, realization dawning, regret flooding his face. I didn't mean to," he whispered. But that apology wasn't enough. Because for Leanna, this challenge wasn't just about physical restraint. It was about unwavering respect for even the most delicate boundaries. Slowly, she slid out of bed, reaching for her coat. "Need to go," she said, her voice trembling. Damien didn't stop her. He knew he had lost the trust she had offered him tonight. As the door clicked shut behind her, a chilling emptiness spread across the room. And Damien understood. Sometimes, a single unconscious moment was enough to destroy what had been patiently, painstakingly built. After that night, Damien knew that apologies would never be enough. There were no texts from him, no pleading calls. Instead, the next morning, a small envelope appeared at Leanna's doorstep. Inside was a handwritten letter, simple and sincere. "I'm sorry not just for the unconscious touch, but for not being worthy enough of the trust you gave me. I won't try to convince you with words. I will change day by day, and you have every right to watch from afar however you choose. The next day, another letter arrived. This time, he shared the realization of how long he had lived clinging to habits of possession, rather than learning how to cherish. On the third day, he wrote about his fear, the fear that one moment of failure might cost him the most beautiful thing he had ever had the chance to reach. Day 4, day 5, and throughout the week, the letters kept coming, never pressing, never pleading, just small pieces of a quiet journey of change. Damien did not show up unexpectedly. He didn't create any pressure. He gave Liana the space she needed, believing that if their love was worth anything, it had to be built on freedom and respect. Liana read every line, every word. She sensed a different Damien, not the proud, untouchable man from glittering galas, but someone learning how to love, how to make amends with patience. And deep inside her, a small, fragile seed of hope began to stir. After a week of receiving heartfelt letters, Liana knew that Damien had truly changed. Not through grand declarations, but through quiet perseverance. A strength she had never seen in him before. One weekend evening, she sent him a simple message. If you still want to, come tonight, but this time you must show me. Damien didn't hesitate. He arrived empty-handed, sincerity shining in his eyes, carrying no expectations. The room was bathed in soft, dim light. Leona, dressed simply, invited him to sit beside her on the sofa. There's no formal test tonight, she said calmly. Just be here. No promises, no pressure. I just want to see if you can love me without needing to touch. Damien nodded, his heart pounding, not from desire this time, but from the sacredness of the moment. They sat together, sharing stories of the past days, their thoughts, their fears. Their eyes met often, deep, raw, and true. But Damien didn't reach out to touch her. No caresses, no grasping hands. Only his presence, steady and complete. As the clock struck midnight, Liana gently leaned her head on his shoulder. Damien closed his eyes, breathing in the moment, letting it seep into every fiber of his being. He had passed, not through restraint, but through transformation, because now the love he felt for her had transcended physical desire, becoming a quiet, enduring vow. Liana smiled, small but real, enough to wash away the last remnants of doubt in her heart. Damien had been given a second chance, and this time he had proven himself worthy. After that night, no grand promises were rushed into. Liana and Damien spent time simply being together, quietly rebuilding trust, piece by piece. A shared glance, a gentle word, a patient waiting. Their love no longer burned with wildfire as it once did, but soaked in deeply, like a spring rain sinking into the earth. And then, on a late spring afternoon, in a sun-dappled garden, Damien knelt before Liana, and in that heartbeat, she realized she had never been more certain of anything in her life. No flowers, no extravagant ring, only a trembling hand reaching out, and a simple, powerful question. Will you walk through life with me? Liana's eyes brimmed with tears. There was no hesitation, no lingering fear, only a short, loving nod. Their wedding day was simple, a small garden, a handful of dear friends, wildflowers, and warm smiles. When they exchanged their vows, the world seemed to hold its breath, leaving only the sound of hearts calling to each other. I promise to love you not just with passion, but with respect and growth. I promise to walk beside you through sunshine and rain alike. Their shared journey began not with illusions of perfect happiness, but with a conscious choice to love, to respect, to grow together every single day. A love not easy, but precious enough to fight for and to cherish for a lifetime. And so their story reminds us that real love isn't found in perfection, but in choosing each other again and again every single day. Thank you so much for spending your time with Noah's Stories today. Your presence here means more than words can say. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in our next video, where another beautiful journey awaits. Until then, keep your heart open and your dreams alive.